Hey guys, this is Miko here. It's been a decent amount of time since I posted a video, and I wanted to update you guys and what's going on with that, as well as talk about server health in general. So since this stuff has come out, there's obviously been some changes with how the war roster is feeling, and I think with the mandatory in-house requirements, and I think everyone's getting probably the same feeling that I'm getting at this now, and I'll just throw on a war from last night in the background, but I've been playing in a lot of these wars, and the consistent feeling has been there's just not enough people to actually make the system that they're trying to have work, actually work. With 12 territories, and then you need 40, and you can only limited to one war per day, and then there's 40 people on attack, 40 people, or there's 40 people that are needed on defense, and there's 25 that are needed on attack. There's just not enough players to actually make what they're trying to do seem possible, it feels like. No, honestly, the war quality lately has just been less quality than OPRs and 3v3s on servers. It's been really bad. I don't think there's been a war that I've been in the last week and a half that wasn't either over within 15 minutes or was an actual 50v50. Well, usually it was a combination of both, but usually wars are like 5v50s now, with people just going for double ducks and dodging, and it's just not even content, which I expect will fix itself later, but it is starting to get frustrating that wars are just worse quality OPRs, and I'd almost rather play in OPRs than in the majority of the wars I'm in at the moment. You look at the roster I had from this one last night on Fresh Start, and there's just how many people do we have? We have 39 people. We have no shot caller. We have no comms. As much as the big companies were a problem, and I think they are a problem. And I think more people need to get experience in wars. I'm not sure this is the way to go about it because uh, this is just gonna turn people off from wars. I mean, if you're just getting rolled in the 50v39, then why would you ever want to keep doing wars? I don't think this is a great introduction to the system, but it is more casual friendly, which is nice. But I think a better approach would have been to introduce an own separate game mode or some sort of practice mode for people to actually get play time in these, so they knew what they're doing. Because at the moment right now, every single fresh start war is just a steamroll, and there's just not a lot of content. Like I think people started leaving this war right away that were actually in real rosters, and then you make some plays. I have no healer. At some point in this, I start running hearty meals on bar, and you still can make plays and still do some things, but it's just not very fun. We stop the rotate, whatever, we get kills, we cap the point, it doesn't really matter. It's just not something I would ever post here because it's just not a quality war. There's nothing to really learn there from this. And the East Wars, not saying they're not bad, but there's definitely a very, very large skill gap between dropouts and every other company at the moment. So it's those wars, it's also hard to tell what to learn from them, I guess. I'm hoping that other servers, if I am able to move accounts to join lesser OP companies, I guess, less stacked companies, then it will be different. But if you're going from a company that's winning wars in under 15 minutes versus every company to playing against something like this, is just it just seems awful with the current state. And if I don't see how this would be fun for new players, and I'm wrong with that, but based off server health right now, these are this is on USE, so let me stop this because there's literally no content to this. It's literally just running around trying to pick off one or two people on their own, and it doesn't really matter. But if you look at US East right now, the fresh start servers with all these, it's if I bring up a simple calculator, you need 40 people on the defense, and there are 12 territories, albeit this one will happen at one day, but that's basically you need 480 people actively good at PvP to be able to do a war on for each server, and that's not including the mercs, which you assume that you can get. And most of these servers have that, but then when you take into account the attacks too, where people are stealing the decks, and then they have like less than 25 people on their attack roster, because it's just a new group of people that are trying to get an attack, then all these wars are just throws. I feel like there has to be like a thing now where it's like you can't push influence in a company if you don't have over 25 people, and that needs to be a new requirement if they're going to go forward with the system, because man, the war quality is just not there. Or like you can't deck if you have under 25 people that are like in your company with this new system, which I think it's getting to the point where people are starting to realize that maybe the barrier to entry to wars is there for a reason, and I just feel bad because as I've been like on this, like made a lot of guides on this channel that are supposed to be intended for people getting new into wars, and I was expecting this change to happen so much sooner, and then it happens, but then the problem is it's just the lack of like I guess people that are willing to try versus the people that are like trying hard. It's just making it rough for the people to actually like learn and like how to play. And it's like where do you want to actually learn how to play? It's like at this point, like the only quality thing seems like it's OPR and 1v1s, probably not even 3v3s, because 3v3s has like the pre-made problem where if you go against a pre-made that's using a cheese strat, then it's just like you don't learn anything from that either. So it's like from a solo queue perspective, I don't think this is like super sustainable. And if I just like hop through different worlds, which I have three different characters right now, one on Fresh Start, and then one on Semi-Dead West server, but not fully dead, and then one on East. But even then, I'd say the Semi-Dead West server is probably the one that has the best quality wars. Um, for the last 2 weeks, like I've actually spent more time playing Hearthstone in wars than I have playing the actual war itself in the last 2 weeks, which is upsetting, but I don't think anything can really be done about it. So, I mean, you're not gonna like recognize names or anything from like Fresh Start, but like it's just like people. I mean, there's also like the pushing problem. Like it's basically the problem with like the removing mega companies. It's revealing all these other problems. Like people can't deck if they don't. They shouldn't be able to deck if they don't have enough people. But then you have to be able to get people in bigger companies, so you have to have companies merge. So it's like I don't know. Like I mean, this is Fresh Start, so I don't even like recognize half these players. We've owned these two territories since like for like 3 or 4 weeks now, and like nothing has changed. So this like literally just like a war logging territory at this point, or like war logging server. There's like nothing really to be done like war content wise. Which, given this game, I don't think anything is really optimized for PvP, or and there's like not an emphasis to prioritize anything for PvP, which is good because there's just like the majority of the player base will not be doing PvP, so that's like fine. And you need like an active players to make the PvP good, so I think that makes sense. But I think there has to be some sort of change with the war requirement to even like attempt to satisfy that PvP perspective, because as of right now, it's just you get double decked. The attackers go to one of the spots that is not taken, and then the defenders lose the territory. So then you're left with the big company that has actually like grinded to get good, left with one territory naturally. But then there's not enough people on the server to actually hold the other territories and like maintain them and stuff. Like this server stuff has been flipping a lot lately. I think the only company left is like Outcasts on Yig that actually is able to hold multiple territories. This farmersexuals like group, they've had 5 territories, and now they're down to like one because they just don't have enough people. So I assume this is what's going to happen to like everyone on this server. Like this company is going to lose 2 of these territories and be left with either Evan or Reekwater. But if I just like look at the town boards of every server, like these are tending to go down like fairly fast too, which is a problem because there's so many territories flipping. Actually, it's actually not that bad on this server, but I've seen it on like other servers where the town boards and stuff is just keeps going down, and it's good that territories are flipping. It's just when you have a 25-man attack requirement and then you have to go to a 40-man defense requirement, I don't know if it's healthy per se. I'm still like a big fan of giving people experience, but I'm not sure this is the way to do it in hindsight, basically. Like I think there needs to be a better way to introduce people to wars other than going from outpost rush to a war, because it's like a very different, there's a lot of like different concepts which I've tried to cover on this channel in the with past videos with like in this like guide series to help people like get used to that war. But it's not like a new player is gonna like want to sit through like at this point like 3 or 4 hours worth of intro to war content to start doing wars, and then they're gonna go into wars and then have this experience that I had last night where it's just you're getting like farmed over and over, which I think this is normal at this point. And like you cap side territories, there's like one company holding the main that's doing fine, but it's like if you're going to introduce people to wars, this is not how it should probably be done. And then let me pause this, and if I jump back to the other server I'm on, then stuff has been flipping more because it's just been the double decks and the super companies are being taken out, which is good. Uh, but it's still like usually when it comes to like a war, like you're hoping for like one good quality war every week, and now we're at the point where I think there's been like maybe 1.5 quality wars like every in the last 2 weeks. Like the biggest one being like Supple versus Boogaflu on this server, and that was like an actual quality war, and then nothing else has been super close. Which I imagine Supple and Boogaflu will catch up to dropouts at one point, so that will be good. But it's still the same problem. Like I think Valid had 3 territories, and then I heard they lost all 3. So yeah, like there's a green company has 3 territories. They get triple deck, so they can only hold 1 territory, and then everyone realizes that their roster's on that territory, so they just send their entire army to there, and now green's left with 2 territories, which dropouts is obviously going to get double decked here. And then it's going to be a situation where dropouts either has to split the army, which at this point 65 people, you have to have 40 on a defense. That means we're down 15 slots between each territory, so you're down 7 to 8 slots, assuming everyone on this company list could actually make it. And so that's like green's going to be down to like 1 territory basically, and there's not really a PVE scene or like other companies from green in general on this server. So I don't know. Let me know what you guys think about this, but from my perspective, it seems like it's sort of a failed concept that I imagine won't really take won't, won't change at all for a while. Uh, and there needs to be some sort of entry requirement to actually getting a deck. Like I believe. Wait, did Path Patrol actually get this deck? There was a company that got a deck that sniped a deck from us that was like literally a 10-man company, and we've been getting decked on by like a 10-man company that's for a while, and then they just field no members. So I don't exactly know why they're decking. But it's just been content starving. It's just so boring. Okay, so yeah, this is a legit war, but then refugees got this because they did a multiple ducks at the same time, and they had to pick a territory, and then the other territory had no members go to it. So it's just like doesn't feel very healthy, basically. Which I think there's a fair argument to saying if you don't have enough members, then you shouldn't be able to hold that many territories. But at the same time, I think there's too many territories for the amount of people that are active in PvP on each server. Like it almost feels like they would need to go back to that system that they tried that everyone hated, where they had a 40-man war roster like requirement. Like this would need to be stripped down to 8 groups, I think, if they wanted to actually go through this with this change, just by the amount of people that are actually active, and then you'd have to lower the amount by like maybe there would be like 30 in company requirement and then 10 mercs. Like I think that would be something that would be healthier and would allow the amount of territories to actually be controlled by the amount of populace in the game. Because as is right now, it's just basically people are holding territories, hoping that they don't get decked on, and that if they get decked on, they're going to get double decked by anyone that's smart, and then they're just going to lose territory. But then the people that own the territory after that just the same problem will happen to them where they just get double decked and lose because there's not enough like active good companies to like maintain territory on the server. Like you look at this and like Fed with their various names has like four territories, and like good for them because they've actually been like recruiting like a lot of like new players and like helping them get better at wars. But the instant they get quadruple decked on here, they're gonna be down to like one territory. So it's I don't think it's a sustainable model because it's just basically turning everyone into the bar pushers, and bar pushing is the worst aspect in New World in entirely right now. But like that system needs to be override as well. But it's basically this war change has just revealed like so many other problems because I don't think territories were designed to be flipped this much. But yeah, I mean, let me know what you guys think. I could be totally off by this and just be totally biased because Dropouts is obviously doing very, very well right now and whatnot. But from my perspective, I have literally been playing Hearthstone more in wars than actually playing wars in wars themselves. And like I've had so many wars where it's just like just been farming water because it's literally at that point where there's nothing that's happening. So yeah, let me guys know what you think if you have any thoughts on what your experience on your servers is, because from the three servers I'm on, there's basically no content happening right now except on Yggdrasil, but on Yig, it's like nice because every company there isn't as good, so it's like more balanced. But uh, yeah, it seems like a lot of like double, triple decking people, have multiple territories still, and then people are just grabbing all the territories they can because they know people won't actually want to run the missions to push them. So it's just basically it's not like shell companies, but you're holding like a territory with a shell of your company in the sense that you can't defend it, but you just have the territory because you can have it, sort of thing. Which is nice because you get more attacks in, I guess, but it's not like quality attacks. If everything was like a quality attack, I'd be much more happy. But it's the quality, I guess, that I'm complaining about the most, which is basically driven by this lovely graph where it's just we don't have enough people on US to make it possible, in my opinion. Like you need 480 active war people per server, and like even on Castle of Steel, which is like fairly popular, I think Oro is also fairly popular in terms of like quality wars. It's like half the server has to be really good at PvP for this to actually make sense, which I don't think the population actually is that big. So I'm glad there's like less barrier for entry, but I wish there was like a better way to get people familiar with the wars before this actually happened. And I imagine that this doesn't happen as much on Eve right now because the populations are better, but on West and East it is. I think well, it's killing my drive to play the game to a certain point because I've been playing other games in the wars more than the war content themselves, and I imagine other people are going to be feeling the same way. So let me know what you guys think about that, and like if there what you guys would do to change this, because I'm not exactly sure what needs to be changed, but I know that there's a problem. So yep. All right. Peace out.